I've got these friends in San Diego. San Diego is an incredible, beautiful spot. And one of the most beautiful parts of San Diego is the San Diego Zoo. And when Cole was about 5 years old, so about 10 years ago, we took him to the San Diego Zoo. And one of the things that we just had to see was this famous gorilla, Villa the gorilla. And Villa was getting old back then, but anyhow, you may have seen in the news that Villa passed away. And so we've got these friends in San Diego, and I was talking to one of them who told me about the day Villa died. And he was an assistant zookeeper and was headed into the zoo, and he just knew that something had changed, because Villa not only died, but she died on the worst possible day. It was the beginning of the week where all the schools, all the elementary schools in San Diego County come in and do their visit, and the big attraction is this gorilla. And so the kids are all lined up outside the zoo, and this guy comes in, and he hasn't heard that Villa has passed away yet. And I mean, the zookeepers are close to these. You think you were sad when your dog died. I mean, these guys, these are like children to them. They know them. And so Steve was his name, and Steve goes in, and he just knows that something's different here. And everybody's upset, everybody's kind of just nothing's the same. And he sits down in the locker room where he's about to change and get his stuff on for the day. And his boss comes in and breaks the news to him that Villa has died, that Villa's passed away. And that this is the worst possible time. The kids don't know. The news doesn't know. Nobody knows yet. And we don't know what we're going to do. Now, it's kind of like Shamu, I guess, the big whale. There's a whole lot of Shamus. There just seems to be one at a time. But the zookeeper says, we got to fly in another gorilla. We got to fly in another one. But until the gorilla gets here, I mean, it's going to take a day or so. I need you to, in all confidence, put on a gorilla costume, lay over in the corner, scratch yourself once in a while, and let the kids think that you're the gorilla. And so he says, I'm not going to do that. Like, I loved Villa. I'm not doing that. And his boss says, like, what do you get paid here anyhow? We'll double your pay. Okay, I'll lay in the corner. He puts on the costume, zips it all up, lays in the corner, once in a while rolls over, waves, or jumps around a little bit and then lays right down. And the zookeeper says, don't get too into this, like something will go wrong, just lay over in the corner. And so he gets through the day. At the end of the day, he takes off this costume and he says, I feel so fake. I feel so empty. That was the worst day of my life. No matter what you pay me, I'm not doing that again. And the zookeeper says, well, it turns out that the new gorilla is not coming till next week. Like, I need somebody to do this, and you were spectacular. The kids didn't know any difference. They got their pictures taken with you up against the window, and so anyhow, and in fact, he was quite popular. The kids would cheer, and every time he moved a little bit, and so there's this incredible story unfolding, and he says, I'm not doing it again. And the zookeeper says, I need you for the rest of the week. We'll pay you 4 times what we normally pay you. And he said, I just laid in the corner. I just don't want to do it. I don't feel right about it, but, well, for 4 times, I'll do it. And he goes off and he lays in the corner. And as the days go on, by the 3rd day, he was starting to get a little braver, and he was, jumping around, and it was getting in the newspaper. He was becoming all this stuff because he was shining a little too brightly in the cage of the gorilla. And so he's dancing around, and by Friday, on the 5th day, he's starting to swing off some of these vines and stuff. And he's putting on this show. Kids are taking pictures. Nobody knows what's going on until he swings a little too far and the vine breaks. And what he didn't know is all week long when he was doing this swinging back and forth small is that if he swung too far, he'd actually be over the lion habitat. The guy falls into the lion habitat and is knocked out. Lands on the ground, doesn't know what's going on, is totally lost. And the lion comes out of his area and starts circling around him. As the lion is circling around him, he comes to, shakes his head, stands up, looks down, doesn't know what's going on, and then looks at the lion and sees the lion coming toward him. The kids are just screaming as loud as they can. They're going to see this epic fight of a gorilla and a lion. And they're taking pictures, and Steve realizes what's going on. And he starts to panic, and he starts to yell, "Help, I'm a human, it's Steve, get me out of here." But nobody can hear him because of all the screaming kids. And he starts to take his costume off, and the zipper is stuck in the fur. And he can't get out of there. He's stuck, and he's screaming and screaming, and the lion starts to circle him and move in closer and closer. And the lion, as he opens his mouth, Steve, the last thing he hears is, "Shut up or we're both going to lose our jobs." You must understand two things. None of that really happened. And number two, things are not always as they seem.